This approximately $2 trillion plan is to help an already suffering economy. But Donald Trump wants to limit restrictive measures as much as possible. The American Senate and the White House found, Wednesday, March 25 in the morning, an agreement on a massive stimulus plan of about $2,000 billion, €1,850 billion, supposed to allow to cushion the impact of the coronavirus crisis on the American economy. Negotiations on the largest stimulus package ever approved in one go by Congress have been underway since Friday. The plan includes direct financial aid for Americans, credits for SMEs, the unemployed and hospitals. It must be voted on Wednesday, Republican Senator Mitch McConnell said, and then it will still have to be passed by the Democrat-controlled House of Representatives before being promulgated by Donald Trump. Earlier Tuesday, the American president had expressed his impatience with the health crisis and said to bet on a rapid lifting of the restrictions by mid-April for part of the country, despite the sharp acceleration in the number of deaths due to coronavirus in the United States. "We have to go back to work, much sooner than people think," the president said on Fox News. While conceding that the restrictions would last a little longer than the initial 15 days, he promised to reopen the country quickly, explaining that we were beginning to see a light at the end of the tunnel. "Nice deadline for Easter. I would love to reopen by Easter, which falls this year on April 12, he said on several occasions, assuring, despite the reservations of many scientists and local officials, that this deadline was realistic provided that people return to work practicing social distancing. He later clarified that this beautiful deadline for Easter would apply especially to the less populated parts of the country and where the epidemic would have been considered contained, as large portions of Texas, territories in the West. Anthony Fauci, an infectious disease specialist on the COVID-19 team, advocated flexibility in easing restrictions, which must be done on a daily or weekly basis. Donald Trump had resolved to issue very strict recommendations a week ago. But, while 40% of the American population is confined to their home or on the verge of being, restrictions vary from one state to another, he does not hide his fear of seeing these draconian measures and stopping the activity go on forever. The Pentagon has been less optimistic in counting on several months of crisis, with a return to normal around June to July only in the United States. Soon the new epicenter of the pandemic. The World Health Organization (WHO) warned on Tuesday that the United States could soon overtake Europe and become the new global epicenter of the pandemic. "We are seeing a huge acceleration in the number of cases in the United States," said a WHO spokesperson. In the late Tuesday afternoon, the United States had nearly 700 dead and more than 53,000 officially reported cases of COVID-19, according to Johns Hopkins University count. In New York State, the rate of new infections doubles every 3 days, said Governor Andrew Cuomo. The epidemic could reach its peak within 14 to 21 days, sooner than expected. Federal authorities have called on residents who recently fled the New York area to avoid contagion to observe a quarantine of 2 weeks to prevent any risk of contamination. This state of nearly 20 million inhabitants is therefore preparing for the worst and continues to demand from the federal government medical equipment, starting with thousands of respirators. It has also increased the need for additional hospital beds to 140,000, while a first emergency hospital is expected to be operational in about 8 days in Manhattan. Death of a teenager. Despite this race against the clock, the President of the United States has therefore immediately confirmed a new change in tone distilled in recent days. After saying, "at war," last week against this invisible enemy, Donald Trump returns to his original words when he was accused by many experts of downplaying the threat. The American billionaire has thus started to compare the current pandemic to the seasonal flu. "We lose thousands and thousands of people every year from the flu, and we are not shutting down the country," he said in his lengthy interview on Fox News. "You can destroy a country by closing it this way," he said, adding that a severe recession or depression could kill more people than the epidemic, especially if the economic crisis were to lead to thousands of suicides. Authorities in California on Tuesday urged youths to follow safety precautions after the deaths of 3 people from the COVID-19, including a young man under the age of 18 who lived in Lancaster, near Los Angeles. It is believed to be the first known case of death affecting a young person on American soil. The city of Miami in Florida, where many young people continued to party last week, ignoring the precautionary instructions, in turn imposed on Tuesday compulsory confinement to its 470,000 inhabitants.